There it is. Okay. Oh, there it is.
It's definitely me. You guys, you might also see my note taker kick on here in a second. So if you see a little thing that says Ashley's note taker, don't don't worry about that. It's just taking notes. um, Coming back for a second, thank you for that reminder. But we've been talking about August being this month of self-care, and we always think about like, okay, well, how am I going to I always think of pampering myself, like that spa. And then if you go another level deeper, we think about the things that we do for ourselves that our future and present self will thank us for. So always think about um, drinking my water, taking my supplements, taking my vitamins, these small things that are so easy to push to the side. Let me take that a step further. And we think about okay, getting my workouts in, getting my mobility in, taking the time to like pre-plan my food out. And why are these things elements of self-care and why are they so easy to not do? And so we're going to just kind of answer that question as we get to the end of tonight of why are the things that are sometimes the best for us? Why are the things that we often choose or subconsciously choose not to do? And some of this sometimes falls into categories of self sabotage. Some of it falls into the fact that I know so many of you are givers and you're giving in so many other buckets of your life, whether that is family, your friends, your marriages or relationships, your children, your workspaces. And at the end of the day, you go, well, Ashley, like, I don't even have any energy left for myself. And we end up pulling from a really dry well, is how I like to phrase it. We can even ask ourselves, well, why is it so difficult for me to care for myself? And that's we're going to come to this topic of self confidence versus self worthiness. And what does this all have to do with self sabotage, caring for ourselves? So, first thing I just want to state, and like this is not actually from myself. I wish I could tell you that I'm the world's best thought leader in the world. But if you hopped onto my last class, you'll know that one thing that I always love to reference is books, podcasts. You guys can't see this right now. Oh no. Oh, there we go. I'll turn it sideways and then you can see it. So this thought about self-confidence versus self-worthiness is from one of my favorite books called Worthy from Jamie Kern Lima. And Jamie Kern Lima, if I can say that correctly, she was the founder of the company It Cosmetics. And this woman, if you've ever read her autobiography, listened to her on podcasts, she has been through a journey in her life. And one of the things that she recognized in her book is that there's this idea that self-confidence is what we're all searching for, but self-worthiness is what we all actually need before the self-confidence can be produced. Um, Self-confidence essentially is perpetuated by the things that we do. So if you think about, all right, what is the world's idea of success? Or the statement if you say, well, if I do A, then I will be happy. Or if I achieve B, then I'll feel fulfilled on purpose, feeling great about myself, then I'll be happy. And I always think about it in our health journeys is this usually is prefaced by a statement of when I reach a weight, then I will feel good about myself. Or it'll be prefaced by, well, when I have a six pack or fit into size whatever jeans or whatever dress, well, then I will feel good about myself. And the problem with that is that self-confidence is literally stemming from all of the things that we do, all of the things that we produce, and the things that we do well. And essentially, self-confidence is actually a skill that can be built. So I think about it this way. I start out with a client, we're going through macros. Their first week, they're like, oh man, macros suck, and that was really hard to hit. But then the second week, they're like, oh, I was able to like get this macro ratio down twice this week. And then we watch them kind of build on that. And as they hit that macro ratio cycle one more week, I watch their confidence in themselves and their capabilities grow. And it is beautiful. We have need for self-confidence. And then what I will usually see happen is somewhere on our journey together, as we're walking this out together, is there will become a stumbling block. We all talked about summer slide this past summer, vacations, cruises, social events, friends, all of those things kind of suddenly throwing our routines off. And what'll happen is there'll be a week where it's like, oh my goodness, I don't know what just happened, but I just slid for a week, which is perfectly fine, except for your self-confidence will lower just a little bit because it's tied to the things that you either did or did not do. Or I'll sometimes see this. And if my clients are on here, you know how it rolls with me. Me and my clients, we tend to take weekly progress photos and measurements. And you can be working really hard, nailing those macros, getting the workouts in, and then you have the week where you don't see any change. And immediately the brain goes into, oh my goodness, like I feel awful about myself. This is not what I'm wanting. What am I doing here? I just did this beautiful week and yet the scale's not showing anything. And again, I'll watch somebody's self-confidence falter a little bit because of the result. Now, so the same can be true also. Sometimes I'll watch it where a client will have amazing results and I'll just watch their confidence just the next week and the next week, just power up, power up. Oh yeah, I got this. I'm on a roll until once again, life gets in the way. There's a week where maybe those measurements don't line up exactly how we want them to. And as that confidence takes a hit, that's where your self-worthiness has to come in. The difference between self-confidence and self-worthiness is that self-confidence is tied to the things that you can do and achieve and the skills you can build, but your self-worthiness is tied to what you intrinsically believe you are worthy of. Come back to that book for just a second. You can see that that is the title of Jamie's book here. And self-worthiness is not attributed to what you produce on a scale. It's not attributed to how many times you hit your macros. It's not attributed to the promotion that you got. Your self-worthiness is built from a healthy self-concept that says, no matter what I do, I am worthy to be loved, to be seen, to speak kindly to myself, to have others speak kindly to me. And the problem is most of us, specifically in American culture, and so if I have any clients here that are from all over the world, maybe later you can comment on if it's different in the culture that you're in. But our culture is more focused on confidence than it is self-worthiness. And Jamie brings up this hysterical point of even within American culture, there's this idea of the pursuit of happiness, which sets us up for the fact of, well, when I reach a certain point, then I will be happy. Now, you might think, well, actually, like, yes, I don't want to stop driving for the results that I want. What's so wrong with following self-confidence and just focusing on self-confidence? Why do I need this little woo? I'm going to call it woo-woo. One of my clients, she's like, sometimes this woo-woo stuff, I'm starting to get a hang of it. And I'm like, yes. Why does self-worthiness matter? Because when you hit the stumbling block, life pops up, kids go back to school, suddenly work gets super busy. When that happens, your self-worthiness is what's going to drive you to say, yes, this is hard. Yes, I might be out of routine a little bit. Yep, I'm not nailing things perfectly right now. And I still can keep going. And what I will see so frequently is that we will rise to the level of worthiness that we believe we can have or that we're worthy of. Let me give you an example. Throughout my long time in this industry, so often what I would see is a client would be doing so well, like so consistent, they're learning so much, they're growing, and they start achieving. They start watching their body shift a little bit. They start feeling empowered as they slam those weights around and as they finally lift heavier than they've ever lifted before. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's this slide. Maybe it'll procure as like emotional eating. Maybe it will suddenly be a ton of anxiety. Sometimes it will manifest as burnout. And all of a sudden, I'll see a sabotaging pattern start to emerge. And it's not because that client is not the bee's knees or because they're not capable or because they're able. It's because as soon as they start flying a little closer to the sun and getting a little closer to what they truly desire and what they want for themselves, their worthiness level will pull them back down. And please understand, y'all, like this is, you hear me talk about it often in my classes. This is on the subconscious level. There is not a single person I know that's ever like, oh, I had great results last week. You know what I'm going to do this week? I'm just going to sabotage myself out of it. That is not what's happening at all. But what does happen is on a subconscious level, internally, there's that little voice in the back of the head buried there that says, I don't actually think I'm worthy of achieving what I want to achieve. I don't think that I actually deserve to have happiness, to have joy, to have my confidence, to have my fulfillment. And so on a subconscious level, there'll start to be patterns of self-sabotage where maybe you were pre-planning your food every single morning and you were in a routine and you were nailing it down, your confidence was rising. And then you suddenly just stop. Or life starts getting in there a little more. And you notice that you don't know why, but you start sabotaging. It's because on a subconscious level, you are either rising or sinking to the worthiness that you believe about yourself and about your journey. Now, most of the time, this doesn't actually come from you. It's coming from a voice or something that was said to you or an intrinsic belief, typically from childhood, because y'all know, like everything stems back from the time we're in the womb. And sometimes it's been planted there by somebody else's thoughts. I don't know if anybody has the vulnerability to jump on this for 1 second, but I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with who have said, my mom had always said, I need to watch what I eat. My mom had always told me that I need to watch my figure. My mom was obsessed with eating very, very, very little. And now I'm afraid to eat more. Now, no shame to anyone's moms here because like, hey, we're all in the same boat. We've all been given the same load of baloney throughout our lives. Just eat less, just eat less, just eat less. Be smaller, take up less space. That's what's been given to us throughout our generation. So no shame to anyone's moms. But that voice, I'm going to tell you, it's probably didn't stem from you originally. I don't know if anyone feels vulnerable or comfortable even popping into the chat and just sharing anything. I'm going to keep going, but if you want to share about where maybe that voice or whose voice it was on that subconscious level that you hear, I would love to hear. Yeah, Mary Jo.
I'm just dying because, as you know, I'm back in my childhood home right now.
Yep.
So I'm like, and I'm living with my parents for the next month, the remainder, one more month. And it just cracks me up because, this complexity, right? Of she's nearly 90. Okay. And I'm here with her, and it's like, I'm still her child. And it's funny because the dichotomy, right? Because growing up, she might have said, like, no, those aren't for you. Those are for your brother because he's thin and you're not, or whatever. Some pretty brutal stuff, as and no, not saying that anything is bad because we all do what we can, and we all have, as parents, you don't know what's going to sting, what's not going to sting, and the remainder. So it just hits home for me because I'm like wondering if any of this is becoming the fact that, like, I'm back in the home and I'm living in my childhood bedroom while I'm here at work. And so it's definitely been a complexity for me, which and they are nearly 90. So a lot of times they interrupt my workouts because they're like, oh, can you run to the store? I need this now. And I'm like, there goes that. Okay. So yeah, I can totally understand that. It just rang a bell to me because of my current situation.
Oh, and it's so interesting what you just said too, of I'm back in my childhood home with a different identity. So pin that because we're definitely going to explore that on your next coaching call, just so you know, Mary Jo.
Yeah, I know.
Explore that. But that is essentially what our self-worthiness comes down to, is our identity. And so much of our identity gets tied up in the external. What people say to us, what we look like, what we produce, if we're successful by the world standards, do we make enough money? And it almost creates this anxiety cycle of, am I doing enough to have what I want to have, to be the person that I want to be? And if I can get there, then I will feel good. I will love myself. I will have purpose. I will be fulfilled. And the problem is, you're going to get there. And what happens when you achieve the goal and still don't feel good enough? Or what happens when you're on your way to the goal and suddenly there's a bump in the road and you feel like you're slipping? I'm going to tell you that there's two things that typically happen, just that I've observed in our health journey experiences, is either if you have strong self-worthiness, you'll have the mess up and you'll say, ooh, that's interesting. I notice as soon as the kids go back to school and life gets busier again, all right, I have to make some adjustments because I can't do the same thing that I was doing before. And I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to keep going. That's interesting. That's curious. I learned something new about myself. I'm going to keep going. Or you're going to feel that little step off the path, because it's going to happen to everybody. And instead, what you'll feel is shame, guilt, avoidance, anxiety. And what'll happen is it'll create almost this little spiral of, I messed up, therefore I'm not good enough, therefore I'm not perfect, therefore none of this is going to work for me, therefore I should just stop altogether. Even though I really want the thing, I should just be done because I proved it to myself again that I can't actually achieve this thing. Self-confidence and self-worthiness, they really do work together to propel you forward on whatever journey that you want to go on. I do want to pop down to my chat real quick because I did see that someone had commented and I want to just grab that comment real quick. Oh yes, Darla said, my mom wouldn't let me go on a school trip to Germany because she thought I needed to lose 10 pounds. Yes. And now we can see sometimes where some of those drivers are at. And let me be clear, having health goals for yourself, that's why we're all here. Like, that is not a bad thing at all. We want those goals and we want our confidence to push and grow so that we feel we can be successful in meeting them. And at the same time, we have to build up our sense of self-worth. So when the going gets tough, because it will, at some point it will, or when we reach the goal, that we aren't suddenly deflated because we couldn't be perfect or because it wasn't everything that we wanted it to be. And now there's another goal to reach. We see this all the time, all the time. And like, I'm going to be with you guys on this one. Like, I'm not sitting up here as an expert saying, don't worry, I have perfect self-worth. I have figured it all out. I've got all the answers. This is why I pull in other people and other thought leaders who have explored these topics and are still on their own growth journey, because that's what it is. It is a journey. But why it matters to us here at RS and why it matters to you as you're on your health journey, as you're uncovering, unwinding, building new habits, building new routines, and truly caring for yourself, is that if you want to talk about self-care, we need to first look at what are we caring for underneath? How are we speaking to ourselves? What thoughts are we allowing to enter into both the conscious and the subconscious brain? And 3, what are we doing to replace the lies that may exist in our narrative about what we deserve, what we are worthy of, and what we can go after? And I really do want to get like a little show of hands or like a drop in the chat box real quick. Real honestly, anyone here ever dealt with self-sabotage in your health journey or a career journey, relationships maybe? Anyone ever dealt with self-sabotage? Lori says, yes. Margarita saying, yeah, definitely.
I think we all do to a certain extent,
Yes.
whether you know it or not.
That's the thing. Typically, it's not a conscious thought. Typically self-sabotage manifests itself as, let me give you some examples really quick. Oh, yep. I got Kathy popping on with her agreeance. Look at us in solidarity being like, yes, I do deal with this. The beautiful thing about community is when we realize we're not alone. Sometimes type it in your chat box to your coach. You might be like, am I the only one dealing with this? No, you're not. This is a group phenomenon. In fact, it's a humanitarian. Oh, Amanda says lack of consistency, self-sabotage. Amanda, I am going to ask, are you willing to expand on that at all, either in the chat box or even coming off mute?
Sure. So on this journey, and you gave me food for thought because I've done the diets and the workouts, and why do we keep gaining the weight back? Why do we keep stopping working out? And is it self-sabotage? It is self-sabotage, but it's got to all come down to self-worth. And because we reach that goal, we reach it and then we lose it. So on this journey, I have had struggles with consistency. I will do great for 3 or 4 days and then I self-sabotage. And I now have, there's a very popular candy that I now call the candy that shall not be named, because it was like binging. It was crazy. And it was a gnawing thought in my head that I had to have it. But it's like, if, and just to give you a preface, so I'm newly retired. So I'm used to doing the working, and being newly retired is like you're on vacation 24/7. So we all know what we did when we worked, when we went on vacation. We didn't track, we ate and drank what we wanted to. And that's the issue with retirement. We moved to East Tennessee from Georgia, and we're in a great community with a lot of retirees, but there's so much going on. There's a ton of social activities, and in every social activity, there's food and alcohol. So it is a constant challenge. So, but I keep finding myself, like I said, I will do great for 3 or 4 days. I track my macros, I'm hitting my macros, and then I will self-sabotage and I won't track it. So my Wrangler and I focused on just tracking everything I eat. That's my 1%. That's where we're starting. So this weekend was we had dinner for 6 where I can't control the menu at all. I don't know what they're making because everybody brings something. And then yesterday we had friends invite us on the boat, and that is crazy on a boat, the food, and it's nothing good. So my weekend was shot after I did a great week. So it's driving me crazy, honestly. I'm getting really frustrated because it's like I'm self-sabotaging myself. Why can't I say no and walk away?
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda, for just sharing all of that, because I think this is a reoccurring thought so many of us have. And not that I want to assume where anybody on this call is at, but what I can imagine is when it comes to that consistency piece. Now, sometimes there's things beyond your control. If you're on a boat and you didn't bring food with you and all you have to eat is what's on that boat, well, that's what's on the boat. That's what you get to eat. But when it comes to those days where it's like, man, I pre-planned my food and I tracked for 3 days straight, and then all of a sudden, I don't even know why I didn't track that day. I don't know why. I didn't. What that can tell you about yourself is there may be an element of, on the subconscious level, of a little bit of unworthiness coming up, or even, and usually unworthiness or feeling unloved is rooted to a fear. There's a fear underneath there. I just had a client who had a major breakthrough last week, and we discovered she named the little voice in her head. I won't say who it is, but she named the voice Tater. And that was the voice in her head. And we kind of isolated like a little bit of where it came from. But what was so beautiful about it is she recognized that it came from a fear that so much of her self-worth was tied to being perfect and presenting perfect all the time, that if she tried and really tried in this process to go after it with everything she had, and then she had a mess up, it would feel debilitating to her, because her worth was tied to the action rather than her confidence and her ability being tied to the action. It literally was affecting the way that she saw herself. And so sometimes it's a fear of actually being successful or trying for something and then feeling pain if you didn't hit it. I see this oftentimes with clients too, where there's a physical reaction to saying, well, if I try and I still can't be perfect at it and I still can't get it exactly right, that hurts more internally than not trying at all. Because if I don't try at all, at least I don't have to embrace that pain of feeling like a failure. Again, on the subconscious level, that's where that self-worthiness comes in. Now, again, with a health journey, how this will sometimes manifest is inconsistency and in small routines, tracking, planning, sometimes even doing things like drinking our water daily. Like that'll be something. I don't know if any of you guys have that procrastination going to bed, where you know you need sleep, but you're like, I will watch 2 more episodes. I will do it. I will do it. And yes, we need the relaxation, we need the rest, but also, oh, Rachel says that is so me. I'd rather not try than fail. She says also me. Yes. Yes. Rather than feeling the pain or the fear of loss or the fear of failure, the fear of not being good enough. How many of y'all have ever had the fear of like, what if I do this process perfectly? Like I track every single day. I do all of my workouts. I go through a whole 52-week cycle and I still don't gain any progress on the scale. Fear of judgment. Oh, that's a good one too. Oh, yeah. What will people around me say? Oh, Lori says, can you finish your thought on sleep? As that is me. Okay, yes. So let me pull it back for 1 second. So self-sabotage, Lori, put it in this framework. We know on one side Sleep is vital for our metabolism. It's vital for our recovery. It's vital for our mental fortitude and our mental strength. Sleep, I have a book. If anyone needs it, I will drop it in Facebook later. I have a book on sleep that is phenomenal. Sleep is vital, but we will sabotage our true rest by watching one more episode, even though we know that at the end of the day, we actually need the sleep because that's what's best for us. We will do a little procrastination and a little sabotage. And sometimes it's just because we're like, I've had a moment to myself all stinking day and we just need that moment. And sometimes it is a method of sabotaging the next day. We know how we're going to feel. Why don't we feel worthy enough to just give ourselves a full night's rest so tomorrow we feel on top of the world?
Can I just say one thing? So, one of the things whenever I'm having a moment of like, I just don't feel like it, whether it be tracking or eating the right thing or the workouts, I often see myself say to myself, who are you hurting? Like, who are you hurting in essence, right? So if you decide like, yeah, forget about it. I'm not going to do this or I won't track this or whatever. In reality, who am I hurting?
Mhm.
And it makes me do a double take. Not always, but sometimes most of the time, because as you know, right now for me, I'm a mess, people. I'm a mess right now.
Beautiful mess.
Well, thanks, but no. So I am definitely far from perfect right now. I'm far from close, and that's okay because life is happening at an extreme pace for me right now. So I'm allowing myself that grace of like, okay, I'm not on point, but I'm not off the rails.
Yeah.
So that's going to have to be where I'm at right now.
And do you feel that level of self-worthiness, like that ownership settle in to say, the way that I love myself best right now, the way I'm caring for myself, the way I'm holding myself to a standard is acknowledging what is for me, what isn't for me, what I need to prioritize. And there's no guilt in that. Like we just had a conversation last week. Here's what I need from my workouts right now.
Yep.
It's to go super hard. I need
Yep.
this, right?
Yep.
That for all of us on this call, that's the building of our self-worthiness over time to say, even if I can't be perfect, and even if I don't nail it 110% of the time, I'm still worthy to keep showing up for myself. And I'm still worthy to say, even if I'm not perfect, I'm still doing pretty darn good. And I can still go 1% better if that's what I choose right now. And it's the difference between completely falling off the wagon and when you hit that road bump, continuing to press forward. Resiliency actually comes from a deep care and a deep way of viewing ourselves with compassion, with grace, with excitement, with worthiness of like, no, I'm worthy of treating myself right. Even I am worthy that when I do have a mishap and I am on the boat eating the munchies, because that's all that's there, man, I can still track that. And the next day I can still get up and eat my omelet and feel really good about myself because darn it, I tracked every day this week. That's the difference. And the reason why I say you need both, because I do believe we need both. If we only focus on self-worthiness, there's no drive towards what we really want for ourselves. You know, that feeling where you're like, I want to walk into a store and I want to feel good as I try on clothes. Like maybe don't go to the Target and like try on clothes in the Target mirrors because they're awful and they don't look great with anybody. But like maybe go to like TJ Maxx or Marshalls. I like their mirrors a lot. So that's what you want. You want to walk in and say, this is a good experience for me. Perfect. Let your confidence in your capabilities push you towards achieving that goal. But if we only focus on worthiness, that's where you might find complacency. Well, I love myself. Good, please do. There's nothing that I absolutely want to or need to change. And if that's you, you're probably not here with us right now. most of us have the opposite end of the problem where we start saying, I will be happy and I can celebrate myself and feel good about myself when I achieve this goal. But until then, it's not good enough. And until then, if I mess up, there's going to be pain there. Is this making sense? Is this tracking with the two things? What I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about breaking the cycle real quick. Because what I don't love to do is give an idea and not give any application towards it. It's kind of like if you were to go to a motivational speaking conference and they pump you way up and you're like, yeah, I can do this. And then you get home and you're like, but what am I supposed to do with these feelings now? What do I do? So let's talk a little bit about, very realistically, what do I do to build up my self-worthiness and hold them hand in hand with self-compassion? There's an exercise I love to do with my clients, which is when they're approaching a fear response, whether that is guilt, whether that is shame, whether that's avoidance, which is so many people's favorites, where suddenly I won't hear from them for a few days. Don't worry, I'll track you down. It's fine. But whenever that's happening, I like to get onto that call and then ask, okay, what's going on? Usually they'll explain they're feeling really out of sorts, out of routine. They don't know what's going on. They can't get a grip, just feeling crazy. Then I like to ask, and what's the fear underneath that? Typically that fear will kind of allow me to say, what is the subconscious actually struggling with? If it's well, I hate tracking these macros and I'm never going to get them right. And so why am I even trying? Why don't we just do something else, which can work, that's an option. If that's what I'm hearing, what I hear is the fear of failure in that conversation. And that somewhere that worthiness is tied to doing things perfectly or doing things right or having to achieve, like, do it correctly in order to get that grade, in order to get that. What'd you say? Oh, I thought you said something, Mary Jo. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Sometimes the fear that I will hear is just like my client last week, where she stated, well, I just felt like, I just couldn't be within these restrictions. It just felt so restrictive. I just couldn't do anything. And I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I've never done it before. And when we asked what her fear was, I'm going to fail. No matter how hard I try, I'm going to fail. And if I fail, that's scarier than not trying at all. That was her fear. And so the first thing I usually do is, if you're wondering how to build your self-worthiness, is identify where the fear and the lies behind that fear are at. Some of you mentioned earlier, like little thoughts that had floated into your head from childhood or maybe people around you. I would really encourage you to pull out of your brain every single lie, every single fear. And this is a super fun exercise. And then I want you to physically draw, crayon, marker, whatever you're going to use, draw the image of this voice in your head. Once you've drawn the image, whatever that image is, maybe it has phrases floating around it, maybe it has a face associated with it, maybe it's just done this exercise before and it was just like a little Cookie Monster looking thing, but with squiggly hairs everywhere. And I knew where the voices came from. Once you've identified the lie and the fear underneath there, I want you to then draw the opposite. What's the truth in place of the lie? So if the lie is, I'm only good enough if I'm perfect, I'm only worthy once I achieve a certain scale, number. What's the truth that replaces that lie? Maybe you just write it. Maybe you're not an artist, and so you're like, I'm not going to draw any little Cookie Monster thing. That's okay. Maybe you just write it. And once you have those two versions, it gives a physical representation of the two voices that are combating in your head. That fight for your worthiness, that fight for the way you view yourself. And now I really would say name your monster. And I don't think my client is on who we've done this before, but man, she named her monster. We have a great name for it. And whenever that voice starts popping up, I don't want to out her, but we have a whole phrase that's like, hey, shut up, name. And you name it and you kick it out of there. And you remind yourself of the truth that's in place of those lies. The second little application that I would give you, you're going to feel stupid doing this. And you will hear this from numerous thought leaders throughout the whole country. When you are trying to reprogram your subconscious brain, the brain will actually reprogram by hearing the opposite being spoken true. So where one person might have told you throughout your life, you don't deserve to eat that. That's for your brother because he's skinny. Oh, I don't deserve things because I am not skinny enough. Okay, what's the truth? I am beautiful. I am wonderful. I deserve all the good things because I am a badass woman, that I exist. And I can choose to eat that if I want to, and I can also choose not to eat that if I want to, but I already know that I got a banging body just the way I be. So now you have a voice speaking. And so what I would say is you take your truths that you've pulled out, put them somewhere on your laptop, on your mirror, maybe on your bedroom door, and start speaking them out loud to yourself. They can be simple. I am worthy. Why am I worthy? Why am I worthy? Well, because I exist. Because I'm here on this planet. Why would I not be as worthy as the next person? I'm worthy. I deserve for good things to happen to me. I deserve to feel good when I put my clothes on. I deserve to look in the mirror and not despise what I see. I deserve to just be able to look at myself and say, man, my badonkadonks looking a little better today. Let's go. Feel that? Speaking over yourself, the truth that you know to be true, or that maybe you don't know yet, but that I'm going to convince you that you're going to know it one day, is going to build the worthiness that's intrinsically motivating you. And what that will do is it will help keep you consistent. It will change the way that you view your process. It will change the way that you view your life. And it will start shaping a different trajectory. And I can promise you this, not just for your health journey. I know that's why y'all are here, but it will start shaping the kind of love you receive in relationships. It will start shaping the way you stand up for yourself in your workplace. It will start shaping how you set boundaries in your life, healthy and unhealthy boundaries. It'll allow you to stand firmly on your own 2 feet and know that when life gets tough, because it will, you will be able to keep going because you're worthy of it. You deserve it. Even something as simple as drinking your stinking water every day. You deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve to feel good and for your face to look fresh and glowy. You deserve that. So those are just a couple applications, and I could go on all day about different ways that you can help build up the worthiness that you feel inside. But my final thoughts to this whole concept, and again, if you have not read any of her books, Jamie Kern Lima, I always say Jamie Lee Kern, I say it wrong. Jamie Kern Lima, this is her book Worthy, but she has another one called Believe. Grab it on Audible, or grab the written book, or check out some of her YouTube videos, because this way of viewing the world and herself is so powerful, so inspiring, and it will just fill your brain with a new thought and a new way of viewing the world. So my final thought for today is that this health journey, I say this all the time to my clients, it is not just about a number on the scale, a specific weight. It is not just about you getting consistent with your macros. Although That is something we're going to work on. It's not just about the macros and it's not just about what movement you're doing. It's about recognizing that you're worthy of self-love, self-care, compassion. You're worthy of all the things that you came in wanting for yourself. Dead stop, not because you do things perfectly. You're worthy just because you are. You deserve this for yourself. And so tomorrow, when you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do with myself today? How am I going to love myself? How am I going to care for myself? I want you to just think one thought to yourself. What would Ashley say about you today? And if you need a little moment, oh, I think I'm glitching so much, but if you need a moment, don't ever be a stranger. You can find me on Facebook and in the Unicorn Corral. Any final thoughts tonight before we hop off?
I'm going to second one of your recommendations.
Yes.
There was a period, it was going through a nasty, whatever, divorce. It was a scary moment. Everything was falling on me. Okay, fine. But taking a dry erase marker and writing in the mirror that you get ready in every single day, I am strong, I am amazing, and I am beautiful. And you repeat those things, whatever your 3 picks are or whatnot. Really look at your own eyes in the mirror and just repeat those. And it does come.
Yes.
It does come.
Yes.
It does come. And one more thing to the whole group, progress is progress. So don't belittle. Every little bit matters and counts.
Every little bit counts. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I want to be hearing and celebrating all of your successes, all of your wins, all of your mental shifts, all of it. You are worthy. I'm going to say good night now, but I know this is a weird way to end, but just know so much love in my heart for each and every one of you here at RS, and thanks for being part of our journey.
Bye.
I'm Joe. I adore you. Hey, go get some sleep.
Not yet, but great meeting.
Thanks. You
Yeah.
feel rejuvenated?
Yeah, it's just, and I get it. Like I had that moment with you where I had to come clean. I'm like, I'm feeling guilty, man. I just can't do this right now. I need a minute because it was just too heavy. But yeah, and I was chatty tonight. Sorry.
Love it. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. This is what we're here for. Oh, Margarita, she says, thanks. This was really great. You're
It
so
was really great.
I will be posting the replay into our on-demand section, hopefully tonight, if not very early in the morning in the Eastern time zone. And yeah, I'll be sharing it with all of you. So thanks so much, you guys.